Hey guys, it's Becca, and I am back with another build on my YouTube channel. So today I'm doing something a little bit different, still in the tiny home theme. I feel like I've been making a lot of tiny homes, but with the living stuff pack, it has just been so much fun to build tiny homes. And it's something I've always kind of liked building smaller homes. I kind of shy away from building huge homes, but with the tiny living, I love all the little items that came in the pack, and then just the challenge of trying to build within the different tiers. It's been a really fun challenge, and I've really enjoyed it. But today I am building with tiny living, and this does fit in one of the tiers, but it's different. So today what I'm doing is I am building a um, tiny community. So this build ends up having 4 separate little houses, and but all 4 of them fit into the um, small build. So there's 3 different tiers. There's the micro home, there's the tiny home, and there's the small home. And the small home is 100 tiles or less. So this build actually, this lot has 4 different houses, but they all combined, they have 100, they have less than 100 tiles. I think I end up at 99 tiles. Um, and then each of the houses in the build would be considered micro homes on their own. So anyway, it was just something kind of fun and different I decided to try. I built this with students in mind, so I was thinking it would pair really well with university. I think that a lot of the items that we got with Discover University work really well with tiny living, like the mini fridges and the shower that came with the shower that's mounted on the wall. I think that those 2 items work really well with tiny living. They help conserve space. So anyway, I thought that I would just do that. So each house has its own color scheme. Each house is laid out a little bit differently. As you can see, I kind of fiddled around with it, trying to decide what I wanted to add into the house. But each house is its own unit. So every single house has its own bathroom, its own bed, a TV, a a kitchen area. None of them have full kitchens, so they all have counters and a mini fridge and a microwave. And then they all have either a table or a desk or a combination of 2 of those things. So, I mean, each house is completely sustainable on its own, but it is tiny living, so it's a tiny little house where they can live. But I just thought it'd be kind of a fun idea to make this for a group of students that all live together on the same lot. It would actually function as student housing if that's what you wanted, because I do add a grill later on. So if you wanted it to be official student housing, you'd have to remove the grill outside. But I think it could work if you wanted to change it up a little bit, you could turn it into a retirement community and just have elder Sims living here, or I don't know, just however you kind of wanted it to be. At first, I was going to design each house with a specific student in mind, not like a student that I had created, but like a student with a different career all through, and I decided not to do that. So each house it's got a different color scheme, but it's completely neutral. I don't add any real personalization. Like you could see, I had added the poster and the sports team page, but I ended up getting rid of that. So it allows your Sims, they could move in and add their own touch to things. So and there's little things that I put in each house in different colors. So each house has, I think every house has one of those poofs, the little poof I added there, the blue one. And that's such a cute item. I confess, it doesn't really bother me that it's not a chair. I don't, I like adding those kinds of things into my game, the poofs and stuff, and like the pillow chairs and that kind of thing that we've gotten in other packs. But as far as seating goes, I don't tend to have my Sims sit on them anyway, so I use it more as a decoration piece, and I think the fact that it has a slot on it that you can add things to, I think it works pretty well. But and it has in so many different colors, so each one works. So you can see this house's theme is kind of the blue and the yellow, and I pulled the color scheme from each of the tiny living objects. So this house has a lot of tiny living in it. It has a lot of Discovery University, and it has a lot of Parenthood. I used and it has Island Living because I used the Island Living counters, and then I used like the Parenthood curtains and stuff. So I went back and forth on what I wanted the walls to be, and ended up going with just this basic swatch. And each house has a different color on the inside, but I like how it turned out. And then each house has its own little front area. So this one has a little porch area that I created, and I just used terrain paint to make the porch area so that way it didn't add to the tile count. And this one I think just has like a little table in front, and these columns do clip a little bit through the top of the roof, but I went ahead and just left them because I felt like it wasn't that bad. It wasn't too bad. But and I had these columns. These are my favorite columns. They're from Get Together. Get Together is probably one of my favorite packs. I really enjoy using the club systems when I do gameplay. I love Windenburg, and I use a lot of the build and buy items from Get Together frequently. So I it tends to be in a lot of my builds, but it does not end up being in this one. I ended up changing the columns later. I really wish we had columns like this in the base game that were just the square ones, because we don't have any that are just plain square columns. We've got the round columns, and we've got some that are square, but they've got a little bit more detail, and I like just the plain look of these, but that's okay. And here you can see I just decided to change out the chairs. I like the style of those chairs that we got in that update, but I don't always like all the patterns, and I wanted to keep the outside of each of the houses fairly neutral. So I went ahead and changed it. But as you can see, I've finished the first house, and now I'm starting on the second one. So the second one is actually on a diagonal, and I don't normally build on a diagonal because I don't know. I guess sometimes I find it annoying how it doesn't clip, but like how everything sits in there. It's a little bit different. But for a tiny home, it actually works really well because this house, it has a bigger footprint because it's on a diagonal. So the tile count isn't huge. It doesn't add a ton to the tile count, but you have more space. And so this one actually has technically 2 rooms, and it's got the living area, and then it's got like the kitchen area, and then it's got this bedroom. And this is my favorite house as far as the color scheme goes. I love the colors. These with the light purple and the peach. Oh my goodness. I think these are so pretty. But you can see how much stuff I am fitting into this house. So this one, it does not have it has the bed, and then your Sims will sit on the side of the bed to watch television. And so I felt like this layout works pretty well. So you could actually have 2 different Sims sitting on the bed watching television. And then they have a dresser and a desk area. And then I'm working on the kitchen. So like I said, I used the Island Living counters to make the kitchen area. And I ended up using this counter space to make a table area. And I don't normally do that, but I thought it worked really well for this build. And so they've got like an actual place to sit and eat in this tiny home. But like I said, this would be the one that I would probably move into if I was playing when I play on this lot. Because I like the colors the most in this build. But like I said, it's 4 houses, so I think you could either, if you wanted to play with 4, you could play with 4 of your own Sims, or I think the other thing that you could do is move in 1 Sim, and they could have 1 house and then get 3 roommates, and each of the roommates could have their own space. And I think it would work pretty well for roommates because they should have everything that they need, because they'll have bed and kitchen area, bathroom, everything to fit all their needs. So, and right here you can see is where I'm changing the columns. So now we've got round columns, and I did go back and change it on the first house also. But and here I was trying to fiddle with the roof to see if I could get rid of the clipping on the roof. But like I said, it's just a teeny bit, and I decided just to leave it. it bothers you, you can replace the columns or get rid of them or whatever you want to do, but I didn't think it was too big of a deal. So, and then this one has pink on the outside, and then it's got a little front porch area. And this one, I think I actually put a full dining table on, or like an outdoor dining area on this one. So this house, like I said, this one's my favorite. I love the colors a lot on this one, but it also just has a lot of living stuff too. It's got, I feel like everything you pretty much need. It doesn't have a couch, but it's got pretty much everything else. And I loved using all of the little plants that we got with those plants, the hanging succulents from Tiny Living, and I used a lot of the plants that we got with Discovery University also, the little tabletop plants. They are so they're just so pretty. Sorry, I got distracted for a minute. It's snowing here today, and I just, out of the corner of my eye, saw the snow, and it's humongous snowflakes. So I just got distracted for a minute. I love snow, and we've had a couple of snow days. I work at a school, so we've had a couple of snow days, but they haven't been real snow days. But these giant snowflakes are just beautiful. So sorry about that tangent. So we'll get back to the build. So this one I'm just working on this is the next tiny home. This one is probably, of the 4 houses, I think this is probably the smallest one. But it still has everything that a sim could need. And this one is a neutral brown color scheme. And I did play test this build. So all of the houses work. And they, like, every single one of the individual houses work. And but this one, again, using the counter as a table area. So I don't think this one has a desk area. I did put a laptop in. I put a laptop in every single one of the houses, and I did use the laptop that came in the base game update with the Freelancer. It's the Freelancer Unlock laptop. I went ahead and added that one in. I think that's the cheapest one. The Strangerville laptop is pretty cheap too, but I try not to use that one in a build where I'm not using Strangerville items, because I don't want to have that one item. Although I do that all the time. I don't know how you guys build, if that's something that happens with you, where you add in items where you have, I like, for me, I have my favorite items, and so I go in and I add my favorite items. And then I get to the end and it shows you all of the packs that you've used, and I've used most of the packs, and then I go through and look, and you can see what packs you've used, or like what items you've used from each pack, and it's one item from this pack and one item from this pack, and I look and I go, okay, maybe I can get rid of one of these, and then I look at what the item is and I go, but that works so perfectly in that house. So I don't know. That, like I said, that's what I have. But here I'm working on the very last of the houses, and this one is a diagonal also, and as you can see, I hit 99 out of 100 tiles. So like I said, this entire lot is it's a tier 3 small home, so that means that you still get fewer bills, and I think, what is the other perk? I can't remember. I think it might be that you get better, or your skills go up. I can't remember if it's that your skills go up or if it's something else. As you can see here, I just fiddled around a little bit with the layout of this last house. Again, with it being on a diagonal, it was a little challenging, but I ended up getting a full bathroom in this house. So I do have 2 houses in this build that have full bathrooms with the sink, the toilet, and the shower in them. This is the other one that has a full bathroom. And here I just went back and was putting in mirrors because I realized I didn't have mirrors in all of the houses. But this last house might actually be the biggest of all 4 of them. I'm not entirely certain, but I definitely fit the most stuff into this last house. So I fit in the bed, and then I fit in the kitchen, a TV, a chair to watch TV on, and a computer desk. So there is a lot of space in this tiny home. But I don't put a table in here, so this one again has the bar top counter for a table area. But this house also has a separate desk area, and I wasn't sure if everything would fit because I ended up putting the television, then I put this chair, and then I put the computer desk and computer chair behind it. But it's still it all works. Like I said, I play tested this whole build. I made sure my sim went to all of the different houses and tested everything. So all of the beds you can sleep in, all of the kitchens you can sit at all the desks and everything. But oh, and I fit a dresser into this one too. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in this one. And if you wanted to get rid of something, I think you could probably fit a table in here too. You might even be able to fit one in the middle. I didn't do that, but I think that you probably could if you wanted to. But anyway, and then I added in the windows in here because I didn't have them, but I really like these windows. I think these are ones that came with the update when we got the Muslim inspired some of the Muslim inspired objects, and I think these windows are really pretty and they match the doors, but it's a really pretty white swatch. I think just a very clean white swatch, and then they're just really pretty, I think, too, with the detail and stuff. But as you can see, this house is pretty much done. I'm just gonna add in the little kitchen shelf that I love so much. Each one of the houses has that kitchen shelf in there, and it actually has a slot on it. I didn't put anything on the slot, but one of my favorite things to put on there in other builds is like the cup or the container that holds like the silverware that you would use in the kitchen, so like the spoons and that kind of thing. I like using that or putting that on the slot. But here I'm just starting to do a little bit of landscaping, and I don't do too much, but I do add some outdoor activities and just make it look a little bit more like a enclosed community. And I do add this center area here. And I thought about putting in a pool, but I decided that I didn't want that here. But there is a lot of space in the middle, so if you wanted to do a pool, you absolutely could. But here I wanted this to be perfectly symmetrical, the center area. So I used these porch tile, or I can't remember what they're called, but like the room, and they're round, and so I just deleted the floor and then I traced around it in the inside so that I could get it perfectly round, and then I centered the fountain, and then I just deleted all of the fences, and I think it turned out really nice. And so there's this huge circular area. So like I said, you could absolutely put a pool in here if you wanted to, but I ended up just putting a bunch of skill building activities. So I have these chess tables here, and I end up moving them across a little bit, but then I put in a grill and the picnic table, so there's a lot of outdoor seating. And then I put in some planter boxes so you could do gardening. And like I said, I mean, I think that this could work really nicely for a retirement community also, if you wanted to have a little place for your elder sims to live, because they could go and they can putter around in their garden and they could sit and play chess together. And I think that would be really nice. I was going to put these loungers where they could just kind of lay out in the sun, but I end up getting rid of them and putting a different activity over there in a little bit. But I also put in some easels, and then just a few trees around, not too many, but and I do some flowery landscaping. But I did build I built this in Newcrest, up in that top neighborhood area, because for a save file I'm working on for myself, I want this neighborhood to be all tiny homes, so I felt like this worked really well. But you could put this build wherever you wanted to. But I really like this. I really like this neighborhood. I feel like it works really well. It's a really good neighborhood if you ever want to do a rags to riches challenge, because it has a pond, so you could do fishing. It has several different rock and plants in the area and frogs, so you can get those collectibles. And it also, if you have seasons, there is a skating rink that appears here, and there's a food stall, and that works really nicely if you are doing rags to riches, because you can buy like the food there, it costs like 10 simoleons or less, and you can get fun up with the skating rink. So little tip if that's something that you're interested in, if you like doing rags to riches. But I tried not to go too overboard with the landscaping. I feel like I kept it pretty, not too fancy or over the top, but I wanted to add in some kind of greenery. You know, if this is a community, then this is probably something where the landlord would come in and have the landscaping taken care of and just kind of make it look nice. If you're trying to get people to move in, you want it to look nice. So I did that, and then I ended up adding in these plants. I really like the color of these ones. I don't use them all the time, but I like how it turned out. And then here I'm just rearranging things a little bit, trying to figure out exactly where I want to put everything. So I moved the chess tables over here and added in another picnic table. And then just trying to kind of get rid of fix up the terrain paint a little bit. So as you can see, there's a lot of outer space outside of the fence that I didn't decorate, but that's okay. And then I put in these trash cans. I put in multiple trash cans because I thought maybe every house has its own. And then I put in a sign so it looks kind of like it's welcome to this community. This is the name of it. And then a little flower garden and the plant over here. And I really like how this turned out. When I make things like this, I like to give them signs so that I just think it looks a little bit more realistic if you have a community lot. But that is pretty much it. I just go through and I got rid of the loungers and I ended up putting in a fire pit because I thought that would work really nicely for this area, for the build. But anyway, if you have watched this to the end, thank you so much for watching. And I do have this up on my gallery. It is Becca Sue. If you liked this build and you'd like to see more, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye!